Howdy, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, how's it going? Welcome back, and thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one, another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 177. Y'all know what that is now, 177. 177. I'm already going off the deep end. Anyway, episode 177. Today we're going to be looking at the Norman Hinshelwood collection, glass plate negatives of old Montreal between the year 1900 and 1902, 03-ish. So thank you very much for being here. Just a wee bit past 5 p.m. local time, mountain time. As always, we're coming at you live from the foothills of the Canadian Rocky Mountains, right here in southwestern Alberta, up in Canada land there, eh, buddy? Canadadia. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Thank you for being here. Sunday, June the 28th, 2026. It's terrible outside. Terrible. It's not really that cold-ish, like plus 15 Celsius. It's chilly. Like 62-ish, 63-ish Fahrenheit. It's chilly because of the wind and the driving rain. It's raining. But it ain't snowing, so whoop-de-doo! You got to take them small W's, people. So thank you very much for being here for this episode. I found some very nice photographs from the McCord Stewart University online collection. I appreciate you being here for the Sunday Fun Day show. Woo! Woo! As always, links below for everything we're going to cover for the show here, as well as how you can get a hold of a fella on my socials, email, BitChute. I'm on the Insta now, like all the kids are doing. That's fine. I try to put something up on this channel here on YouTube every day, whether it's a video, post of some photographs, a live show on the Sunday, maybe a YouTube short. Do the same thing on the Instagram now. Yeah, put up a photo or a little reel. Is that what they're called? I don't know. It's all right. It's pretty fun. You can message with people and whatnot, And of course, Rumble every week live, just like we are right here, right now. Rumble, YouTube, welcome everyone. Thanks to everybody who's already shared and subscribed. Appreciate you. If you're watching this after the live, thank you very much for your support as well. And as mentioned, links below for everything. You can also find the link to my second channel, where you can find vintage footage videos every Sunday, or every Saturday, excuse me. Now, with all of the hubbub and hullabaloo out of the way, let's say howdy to everybody in the box, the chat here, see how everyone's doing. Hello. How's it going there, everyone? Hippie Shake is here. Good to see you, Hippie. Kathy Broughton in the box. I heard there's been some earthquakes down in the States, in California. That's not good. Careful over there on the West Coast there in California. Those are not good vibrations. You know what I'm saying? Roberto, ciao, bello, come stai? Good to see you. Baja in the box. Channel 53 is here. Jesse Nix is here as well. Howdy. Good to see you. Unfreemason. That email's freaking me out, Vinny. That's Cousin Vinny, by the way, Unfreemason. Always good to see you, Cousin Vinny. You got Frankie Fingers, and you got Cousin Vinny over here, huh?
So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching Newest Reset, huh? Well, you know, it's Newest Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Anyways, that email you sent me regarding my last boots on the ground video on Friday there, the old bridge. It's freaking me out, man, because he's right. He sent me an email saying, hey, man, if you go onto the goggle machine, go to the Google Maps, and you just roll it back a few years, that the trestle part of that bridge ain't even there. And then he sent me a screenshot just in case. So I went to the goggle machine and fired her up. Got her going in one pull, by the way. You know. That's how we like to do it around here. Anyway. And yeah. But meanwhile, there's old black and white photos of this thing from the 19-teens. The build date on it, they say, is 1912. And there's a narrative that actually originally was a wood trestle bridge that was washed away in a flood. And then the railroad said, you know what, the heck with wood. And they built it out of steel in 1912. But yeah, you go on the goggle machine and it ain't there, man. So I don't know what's going on. I've got a bird's eye view photograph of Calgary taken in 1927. I looked there, but you can't tell. Like, you zoom in, and in order to zoom in enough to see if the old bridge is there and if it's a trestle bridge or not, it gets so picoulated. Yeah, you can't see you can't make hide nor hair. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. There's some kind of, I mean, I used to live in Inglewood. I remember that bridge being there. I always thought it was a nice bridge. And I'm not confusing it with the McDonald Bridge. And neither is the old photos, which is, you know, a quarter mile down the river, upriver, I should say. I don't know. Anyways, Title's here. Title, I got a missing bridge syndrome. Title, help me, Title. I don't know what's going on. I got the missing bridge syndrome. Who knows, man, right? He says, Vincent says, I guess we're in a simulation after all. Yeesh. Yikes. Who knows? I don't know. I do not know. Dragon Sage in the box. Howdy. Good to see you. Hello. There's Phil. Phil Henry's here. Hello. Good to see you there, bud. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Kinley Jackson. Sunday fun day indeed. Yeah, maybe I got the what do they call it? Mandela effect. Maybe I've got a Canadian Pacific Railway trestle bridge Mandela effect in real time or something. Yeah, 2019, it's not there. I lived there in before that, 2015, 2016 in Inglewood, and lived downtown, so I was always going past that bridge. I do remember when the old car bridge, which was also a trestle bridge, was there. And then they had to yank that bugger out because she wasn't no safe no more. And then they put in a new trestle bridge. But it's got a plaque on it with the date of the new bridge. And they say, you know, there used to be an old bridge here, yada, yada. Here's the date of the new bridge. So, yeah, I don't know. It warrants further investigation. So thanks for freaking me out, Vinny. Appreciate that. Anyway, thanks to all of you for being here. Appreciate it as always. So as mentioned, episode 177, we're going to look at the glass plate photo negatives collection of Norman Hinshelwood. It's a tough last name to say there, bud. I'm not going to pull your leg on that. That's not fun to try to trip over all the time. Anyway, from the McCord Stewart Museum, their online collection. Again, link below for that. It's a great site, actually. It's seems to be a bottomless well that I keep going to over and over on the show. Excellent collections there of old books, old lithographs, old photographs, old photo negatives. It's Canadian content there, eh? Because that museum's in Montreal. It's steeped heavily in Montreal or Quebec as a whole there. So not going to find many old photographs in New York there, bud. It's going to be from Canada, dear. Anyway, I thought before we jump into that, we would take a look at give you a quick little overview of Montreal and the official his story is, the narrative around Montreal. It's a really old city. It's like super old. But, rather than going to the Wikipedia all the time with that tedious nonsense, I figured I would just go right to the horse's mouth and go to the Canadian Encyclopedia here, bud. They're online, the Canadian Encyclopedia.ca. You got to make sure you specify English, though, whenever you go to anything online up in Canada land there. Because we have two official languages up here, eh, bud? Oh, for sure. Bien sûr, Carlis. Je parle anglais et français aussi. Anyway. Montreal, Quebec, incorporated as a city way back in 1832. Had a population of almost 1.8 million in the 2021 census, 1.7 million in the 2016 census. It's Canada's second largest city after Toronto. The T-dot, the T.O. dot, Toronto, Ontario. And it's home to nearly a quarter of the province of Quebec's population. It is the metropolis of the province and was the most populous city in Canada for a century and a half. It's right on the St. Lawrence Seaway, which leads into the Great Lakes, which we shall soon see. That's right. Hippie says, yes, of course. You have English and French in Canada. As far as I know, we're still the only country in the realm that has two official languages on the books. Let's preserve the French and English culture here. You know, we do have, especially in the East, but not exclusively. There's a lot of the French Canadian, you know, which is different than the sort of the British Anglo culture. Excuse me, food and music and so what is, and so on and so forth is different, as well as obviously the language there, but Channel 53 says 1832. That must have been way different looking. Yeah. So it's located in the southwestern Quebec on the Ile de Montréal, the island of Montreal, at the confluence of the St. Lawrence River and the Ottawa River. Montreal is a major industrial center, commercial and financial metropolis, railway and maritime bridgehead, and one of the centers of Francophone culture in North America. It is one of the world's great cities and enjoys international acclaim. It's like Canada's Big Apple there, bud. But it's also Canada's answer to French Europe. whether it be in France or in Switzerland or Belgium, wherever they speak a lot of, parlez-vous le français, parlez-vous le ding-dong, as my British granddaddy used to say. Dragon Sage says poutine is French fries with cheese, curds, and gravy. Yep, not just any cheese. A lot of people just try to fool you and put some kind of mozzarella cheese on there. No. Mozzarella's for your pizza, mamma mia. Que io se fai là? What are you doing there? No, yeah, if you want the poutine, you got to have that squeaky cheese, the cheese curds, which is also a soft cheese, but tabarnak, don't put the wrong cheese on that thing called this. Otherwise, it's not poutine. But yeah, you could throw some different meat on there. You could put some Montreal smoked meat on it. Put moose meat, sure, any venison, really. But moose is pretty prevalent in Quebec. What is poutine? It's famous now. But basically, anywhere west of Winnipeg, poutine starts changing, and it's not really poutine anymore. The gravy's different, and they don't use the right cheese. Even parts of Winnipeg, they're getting it wrong already, right? But fries and gravy is nothing new, but it's a special kind of gravy. It's hard to explain. It's not like a brown beef gravy or even a mushroom gravy. It's kind of slightly reddish gravy. It's like a reddish brownish. Look it up on the goggle machine. I don't know. Anyway, the settlement. So the St. Lawrence Iroquois, the Iroquois indigenous peoples, long inhabited the present-day island of Montreal and the surrounding areas. The island was a good site for settlement due to the natural resources nearby, and the St. Lawrence River and Lachine Rapids made it necessary for travelers to stop there and unload their boats so you could portage, because the rapids were way too rough for your canoes and small boats there, but forget about your ships. Lachine, by the way, is French for China, because when some early explorer back in the age of discovery apparently made it that far down the St. Lawrence from the Atlantic Ocean, and he had to portage there, and he came across the indigenous peoples, I guess, assuming the Iroquois, that he thought they were Chinese peoples, and so therefore thought he arrived in China. So named the area Lachine, saying, well, here we are, this is it. Well, he didn't name it. It said, he declared, there we are. We're in China. So, That's racist! Yeah, the Iroquois people do not look at all like they're from China, really. Especially when you hear them speak. They're not speaking Mandarin or Cantonese or Choisan or any other dialect. I can't go any further, bud. So he just pulled her over there and said, yeah, we'll call it China. We're here. I'm calling it. We have arrived in China, boys. Look, there's Chinamen over there. Turns out it's Iroquois looking back at him, wondering, what's these idiots doing here, eh? Anyways, in 1535, French navigator Jacques Cartier visited one of their villages, Hochelaga. Hochelaga is Montreal. You see it on old maps going back to the 1500s, 1600s. You have Chilaga and Hochelaga. It's actually Hochelaga, but close enough. So a large village made up of approximately 50 longhouses and a population of approximately 1,500 people. 1,500 people. Located on the slopes of Mount Royal. You can bet that was way bigger than that. They're just trying to downplay it. That was about 1,500 people there. It was a large village. Now, if it was big enough to be put on a whole schwack of ancient maps, so much so that they even write the name on it. They don't just put a symbol for some city there, they actually write Hochelaga. Boom, right on the map. So it had to be significant enough. 1,500 people is not really that significant for an indigenous native tribe or band. Heck, the Blackfoot Confederacy here at Alberta alone is in the hundreds of thousands, I think. No, tens of thousands, but in Canada, hundreds of thousands. Anyway, getting off the rails. I just have a little bit of trouble with the fact that they say there's 1,500 people there, which sounds quite small, but significant enough nonetheless to put it on a map. I don't know. It just, I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
I guess that sums it up. Yeah, I agree with you. Robert says, I love these BS stories. Yeah, like, Chicago's on the 1857 map. It says Apocalypse Pat. Good to see it. Thanks for shooting in. Is it called Chicago or is it called Chilaga? Chilaga, sorry. Chilaga and Hochelaga. Anyway. Sage says, it suggested the Iroquois nation were the ancient Romans. I haven't heard that one. I'm familiar-ish with the Iroquois. I'm a little bit more familiar with the Mi'kmaq. Very strong ties to French-Canadian culture, and then in and around the St. Lawrence as well. But then in Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, like basically all the Maritimes, right? And they're widely regarded as being Canada's oldest peoples, around 30,000 years. And they have old stories of that they're peoples from the land of the sun, from the east. And they arrived to this land that was made for them from the east, a new land, basically. Which I thought was pretty fascinating. Anyways, Montreal, sometimes called Ville Marie. Yeah, city of Mary, named after the Virgin Mary. Jesus' mama. It was founded in 1642 as a missionary colony under the direction of Paul de Chomedey de Maisonneuve. Well, ooh la la la.
Ooh la 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 la.
And Jean Mance, or Jean Mance. Still, the fur trade soon became its main activity. There we go. Canada as a nation was built by being built upon the back of the beaver pelt, the mighty beaver. To this day, we have the beaver on the back of our nickel. We don't have a buffalo nickel. We got the beaver nickel. Maisonneuve and his group of 4 colonists were caught in a storm of conflict between indigenous peoples for control of the fur supply. A permanent state of war with the Iroquois marked the early decades of the colony's existence. In 1665, Louis XIV sent 1,200 French troops to the colony. These troops attacked the Iroquois the following year. Why did they need all these people and soldiers and colonists for 1,500 people? Seems like a lot of hullabaloo for a small village of 1,500 people. Meh, right? Meanwhile, we got muskets and gunpowder and whatnot, and they've got spears, bows and arrows, and atlatls. And clubs, of course. You gotta have clubs. Come on, man. Where would you be without your club? And my axe. You stay over there, Gimli. Nobody's talking to you. Anyways, permanent peace was only established in 1701. It's a long time there, bud. It's 36 years, eh? With the conclusion of a major treaty Le Grand Pays, the great country. No, the Great Peace. Excuse me. Great Peace. Between the French and Iroquois and more than 30 other indigenous groups. Dragon Sage says, I'm part Mi'kmaq on my mother's Acadian Irish Welsh side. Wow. Your mom's good. Your mom is Acadian, Irish, Welsh, and Mi'kmaq. Bless her. Stephanie's here. That's Babylon Fox in the box. Hotter than Hades here in sunny Tennessee. Pause my house cleaning, tune in. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. We did have a hot spell here a couple of days, but now we've been getting some rain, which is fine. Because I don't want to hear a month from now about forest fires and wildfires and see all the smoke where you can't even. I look at my window and it looks like fog, and I can't even see, 100 yards down the street, 100 meters, 100 yards. Nova Scotian. Ah, yeah, that's the greatest concentration of Mi'kmaq is in that area. Across the bay from Halifax there, bud. Over in Dartmouth. Dartmouth, as they say. Can't make any native comments. With the yoiks face.
That's crazy!
Hey, most white folks are, like Kathy Brutton's put so eloquently, I'm a Heinz 57. A mix, yeah. I'm French and then British, Scots-Irish, of Germanic descent, But then you look at like some of my cousins and nieces and nephews, there's Greek sprinkled in there and Colombian sprinkled in there. Trinidadian. Trini. We call Trini them. We call Trini them. People from Trinidad. Just how it is, man. I think I've joked about that before, show people family photos of me at some family reunion or some big cookout or some big family event, or some of my family comes out here or I go out there or whatever, right? We go out there to visit. Got to take a big group photo, right? Show people and they're like, who's that guy? That's my uncle. That's your uncle? Well, yeah, I can't have an olive skin, handlebar, mustachioed Greek uncle. It's my Uncle Mike, man. You're like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, sirens. Wouldn't be a New West Reset live show without some kind of ambulance rolling by. Del 53 says, my great grandpa went to prison twice for squeezing corn. It's the main cool thing I have. What's squeezing corn? Oh, I know. Making moonshine. Corn mash shine. You had a corn mash steel up there in the woods just over yonder, did he now? Yeah, my great granddaddy had one of them too. Yep, up in the maple trees up of the hill in Brome, Quebec. An hour and a half outside of Montreal. Up them woods. It's good to have a little maple, tapping some maple and have a sugar shack out there so you can cook down the maple sap into maple syrup and maple sugar. Because nobody questions the smoke coming out of the top of your shack when you got a still up in there at the same time. But no, that's just William. Yeah, no, he's got his maple syrup going. At least that's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing squeezing corn is. Yeah. Kathy says moonshine is the best with an exclamation point. Just so you know, she's serious. That's right. We call that giggle water up here. Giggle water. That's the good stuff. Anyway, I've lost my place here. Anyways, a bunch of these voyagers, there's traders, fur traders, explorers, methodically explored the North American continent from the continent, excuse me, from the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, to the Rockies. They established a network of trading posts to secure furs for the Montreal fur trade. Fur trade relied on the labor of indigenous peoples, did not provide much employment in Montreal itself. Strong dependence on this single industry and the region's weak agricultural output resulted in slow population growth early on. At the end of the 17th century, for example, the city had just over 1,000 inhabitants. I guess now they're talking about Montreal itself and not the large village of Hochelaga, I guess. Still smaller than that village, though, 1,000 people. Almost a century later, in 1789, the population had only reached approximately 5,500 people. 5,500 people. Huh. Wiley Metz in the box. Chassie Nick says, I don't think I ever drank moonshine. Then again, I don't remember much of my childhood. Could be why, maybe. I was born in 1970. Okay, so I was a baby in the very early 70s, teething, right? And my mom used to just dip her pinky in my dad's bottle of rum and wipe it on my gums to numb my gums while I was teething, so I could get a decent night's sleep as a baby, and so my parents could get a decent night's sleep as a baby. So who knows, man? No, if you had moonshine, you'd know it, because you can't just, shoot it down necessarily when you're not used to it like you can, let's say, I don't know, vodka or rum or even whiskey for that matter. You gotta take it easy. Hey, take it easy. Take it easy at first. Because whew, it's like fuel. Religious institutions made their presence felt in the life of the community. Among these was the Order of Saint Sulpice, which owned the Seigneurie of the island of Montreal. For close to 200 years and provided priests for the parish church. Built in 1685, the Order seminary building still stands at Place d'Armes in Montreal. Sir Rat Bastard in the box over on Rumble. Howdy. Welcome. Good to see you. Montreal surrendered to British forces in 1760 during the 7 years kerfuffle. For several decades after the British conquest, Montreal's economy continued to depend mainly on the fur trade. Scottish merchants such as Alexander Mackenzie, the Frobisher brothers, Simon, all these guys replaced Francophone merchants. The Scots combined their business interests and created the Northwest Company, which is a trading company, to compete more effectively with the Hudson's Bay Company for control of the fur trade of the northwest of Canada land. Hudson Bay Company has been around since, I think, 1640, 1690, somewhere in there. At one point, it was the North America's oldest continually operating corporation, but it's now gone belly up. The government can bail out crooked airlines, but they can't bail out what, sure, we'll agree, Hudson's Bay Company has a shady past. But in the end, it was just a land holdings company and a chain of department stores where you could go in and buy some Levi's jeans and some new socks and underwear once in a while. Oh, I need some new hiking boots. You know what? I'll go to the bay. They'll have it. Oh, the wind blew my umbrella inside out. I need a new umbrella. You know what? The bay will have one. The Calgary store was six floors. They had everything. So, but no, you got to let that go. You're going to keep the crooked airlines, keep bailing them out and bail out the crooked banks too. Despite the disadvantage of this, I'm on the fence about the Bay. In parts of the past, I can't stand what the Bay did. But again, in the modern times, the Bay was a great department store that had good service, good quality with money back guarantee. You know what I'm saying? If you bought something at the Bay in Calgary and you just happened to be in Montreal the week later with sweater that you bought, and now it's got a hole in it. The seam has pulled. They didn't stitch it right. You take it back to the Bay in Montreal and they'll swap it for you. Or they'll give you your money back. You don't have the receipt? No problem. It's fine. Either that, we'll fix it on the spot for you while you wait. We got an in-house tailoring service. That kind of stuff. Despite the disadvantage of distance, the Montreal-based Northwest Company prospered until it was assimilated into the Hudson's Bay in 1821. Actually, they went to war with one another. Literally, they would have armed conflicts and were supposedly building forts to fortify their positions against one another. Two fur trading companies duking it out in Canadian land. And eventually the Crown, because we were still, part of the Commonwealth. We were the Dominion of Canada, right? We're still a bunch of colonies. Still under the rule of the Crown of England, right? Eventually the Crown had to step in and said, all right, if you guys are going to keep fighting, they basically forced us to shake hands and make up like two siblings, two brothers fighting in the living room, fighting over the remote control. All right, you two shake hands and hug each other and make up. You're brothers now. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, the fur trade played an important role in establishing Montreal's influence over the interior of Canada. We have driving further west into the New West. Still, from the end of the 18th century, the city's growth depended increasingly on the settlement of the rural hinterland, including the plain outside Montreal and areas in Upper Canada for farming and ranching and stuff. Large influx of immigrants from British Isles began in 1815, accelerated the settlement process. By the 1820s, Montreal's population was larger than Quebec City's, which was the capital and the seat of the government, and it had clearly asserted itself as the metropolis. In 1825, Montreal already had 22,500 inhabitants, and by 1844, the number had grown to 44,500. Here's now where we start to see that familiar narrative of the exponential jumps in population in a very, very short amount of time, in a matter of decades. You go from what they were told are a handful of people, a couple of thousand people, to all of a sudden, soon you're going to see it like 100,000 people here. 70 years later, you're like, wait, what? All coming from the British Isles? We haven't even had the so-called Irish potato famine yet. And most of them didn't even come to Canada proper, mainland. They went to what's now Newfoundland and Labrador there. Oh, for sure, Lord Thunder, that's where they settled down there. They come over from Ireland, you see, they settled down there. He said, oh, he's good enough there, Good enough. Don't need to travel across yonder there. There's plenty of fishing here to do, That's where they stayed. English-speaking residents became the majority in the city around 1831 due to large-scale immigration, notably from Ireland. See, there it is. Conflict between French and English residents and struggles for representative government marked the 1830s and resulted in the rebellions of 1837. The defeat of the Patriots in the rebellion gave the new Anglophone middle class a political victory, and after 1840, Francophone leaders had no choice but to cooperate with them. See, again, you guys better get along now. (1844 to 49), Montreal was the capital of the United Province of Canada. Really? I misspoke earlier. I thought Quebec City. Well, Quebec City's older, so that's why the population was greater. But I always, by this time, I thought Quebec City was the seat of government for the colonies in Canada. Anyways, on the 25th of April, 1849, however, English rioters set fire to their own Parliament building. Jeez, they were angry over legislation that the British government compensate the French for damage done during the rebellions of 1837. The capital subsequently alternated between Toronto and Quebec City until December 31st, 1857, when Queen Victoria chose Ottawa. There she is.
Well, hello, loyal subjects, 'tis I, your rightful true monarch, Queen Victoria. We are so pleased and amused that you give us our royal due in your article here on the Canadian encyclopedia, as it were. Good day, loyal subjects, good day.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. A regular visitor here on the live show, Queen Victoria. Fundamental changes took place in Montreal's transportation and industry in the following years. Expansion of the St. Lawrence Canal system and the deepening of the channel to Quebec City made Montreal the area's principal seaport. While railway construction, that was a tough one to tumble over, particularly of the Grand Trunk Railway, made the city the hub of the railway system. The process of industrialization began around the middle of the 18th century, began to alter the city's face completely, yada, yada, yada. Let me get a few photos here. So this is kind of the in and around the time we'll be looking at here, around 1900, after we take a break here, the mid-show. We're going to have a look at some of these excellent glass plate photo negatives from 1900. So kind of just before the, during Queen Victoria's reign still, basically. Montreal grew rapidly from 1850 to 1913. Population increased from 44,500 in 1844 to 468,000 in 1911. 528,000, including the suburbs. City proper overflowed its boundaries and quickly reached suburban communities, annexing 23 between 1883 and 1918. French Canadians in search of work poured into the city from rural areas, and in 1865, Francophones again made up the majority of the city's population. Immigration increased dramatically at the turn of the century, and Montreal became a more ethnically and culturally diverse city. Now, that's not by today's definition of diversity. This was like actually natural diversity amongst people that were already living here and were just moving around, maybe coming from rural areas into the cities. Because as populations were expanding, the city was gobbling up land, so there was less and less land to farm. So a lot of farmers were like, I can't grow nothing here no more, man. I hardly got no land. Just might as well sell my land, move into the city, job at some crappy factory or whatever, right? I don't know, whatever the narrative was for back then. I do know a lot of little towns got gobbled up and disappeared. The little town that my granddaddy grew up in, that's gone. Gone. Even all the old buildings along the old Main Street, that's all gone now. The settlement, well, then plus you still had people coming from the UK, right? Ireland, Scotland, England, so on and so forth. And the indigenous peoples moving about too, being forced away or being offered reservation land in, different areas. Sorry, if you move over there, we'll give you like twice the land. You'll just be like over there, bud. And they looked at it and they were like, because That'll bring it to like 60 of our chiefs, and we all got to agree on it, though, bud. So there's a lot of that jockeying around. So yeah, there's a lot of population moving around. Yeah, you're getting some people from like China or, Germany or whatever, but maybe Egypt, Ethiopia, maybe. Any place that was like British occupied. India might get a little bit, but it's not like modern definitions. Anyway, continuing. The settlement of the Canadian West was also important for Montreal's development. As in the 1880s, the Canadian Pacific Railway established its head office in the city of Montreal, that is. This meant that much of Western grain was shipped overseas through the port of Montreal, which was considerably enlarged at the beginning of the 20th century. In this period, Montreal was indisputably the metropolis of Canada. They love saying that. The metropolis. What, Superman flying around up here? Got the Daily Planet newspaper? Take off. Use a thesaurus once in a while. Anyways, the metropolis of Canada, and Saint Jacques or St. James Street was the country's financial center. However, Toronto was a powerful rival and benefited more in the long run from Western settlement and from the growing trade with the United States. By 1960, Toronto had taken over Montreal's place as Canada's center of economic activity, yada, yada. There you go. Then it goes on to some of the other stuff. There's the World Exposition, 1967. My parents went there when they were going steady, and that's where my daddy asked my mama to marry him, and they were engaged for 2 years, and then they finally got married in 1969 on a beautiful early May spring day. Anyway, so links below for the Canadian Encyclopedia of Montreal. Or as the taxi drivers in Montreal pronounce it, Montreal. I can take you to the city of Montreal, buddy. Dragon Sage says my parents were at Ep.177 too. They got married shortly after that too. See, it's been a good luck charm. At least when my parents are concerned, it was a good luck charm. Worked out pretty nicely for them. 1914, that's right, Riley. 1914. I'm not much of a wordsmith, but I do like to clown around with words. I'll tell you that. Yeah, the snow with the trams really puts it in perspective, even around the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence, and obviously the Maritime and Atlantic provinces right there on the Atlantic. You get a lot of snow. Newfoundland just gets hammered with wet, heavy snow every winter. Blizzard warning after blizzard warning. All winter long, they get the nor'easters and they get like 4 feet of snow. They get 2 feet overnight, bud. And you just get up, get your shovel, and you're like, oh, she got to go there. Bye. That's what I say. Got to go out there, bye. Got to shovel it. You got to what? Shovel it. You mean shovel it? That's what I'm telling you, it's bye. Anyway, what do you say we take a quick break? Have a nice little mid-show break, and when we come back, we will jump on to the McCord Stewart Museum online collection. We'll have a look at the glass plate negatives from the Norman Hinshelwood collection here on the show. Photos from between 1900 and 1903. There's a couple that are from slightly earlier than that, a few from later, but it's nothing really worth looking at. But I'm really excited actually about this collection because there's photos of old buildings, then a couple of street scenes, a couple of photos of people doing stuff, daily scenes, sort of candid shots. Then there's also some old construction photos of some old bridge, I think. And then there's also a bunch of old photos of all kinds of weird machinery in some factory, like dynamos and stuff like that. So yeah, very, very unique collection. This guy just kind of poked his head around all kinds of stuff in Montreal there and took a bunch of photos. Real shutterbug in every sense of the term. All right, so that's screwing around here. We're going to take a quick break. And as we've been doing for a few weeks here now on the shoe, the video that I'm going to show for the break here features our friend Dragon Sage there in the box and his band, The Sex Witch, out of Hamilton, Ontario. They just released their self-titled debut vinyl album. Please, if you go to either the Sex Witch YouTube channel or to Dragon Sage's YouTube channel, you can find all the links. You can get your hands on a copy of it. Well worth it. So I'm featuring music from that album with the old-timey footage here for the show break. This is Montreal as well. This is from a little bit later. This is Montreal. Some rare footage from 1930. Montreal, featuring music of Dragon Sage's The Sex Witch. It's about 3 3/4 minutes. Smoke them if you got them. Put your ear cans on. Turn her up to 11 there, bud. We'll see you on the other side of 3 3/4 minutes. All right? Cheers. All right. And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Thank you for shooting in. Joining me here for another one, another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 177 here today. Sunday, June 28th, 6 p.m. local time, mountain time. We're coming at you from the Rocky Mountains, the foothills thereof, that is. Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada. Good to see all of you. Thanks for shooting in and winding down your weekend here with yours truly on the Sunday Funday. Woo! Woo! Hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you are, please do all the stuff to help fill out. If you're just joining us here, thank you very much for being here. If you're watching it after the live, thank you. Appreciate it. So before the break, we had a look at the official history of Montreal. Yeah, we found a few things in there that I would definitely consider, you could call it
shenanigans.
At least that's how I look at it. Anyway, thanks for being here. Let's say howdy to everybody in the box, in the chat. Kathy Broughton is here. Hippie Shake in the box. Thanks for sharing the links, by the way, Hippie. Appreciate that, as always. The best in the biz. KJ's here. That's Kinley Jackson, everybody. Roberto's here. Good to see you, Robert. Wiley Metz in the box as well. Channel 53. Dragon Sage, there he is. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for sending me a copy. Appreciate it. Definitely going to be hitting the pavement with those extra copies that you just sent that just arrived. It was nice to meet your buddy and coworker as well. Cool guy, nice guy. It's the least I could do, man. After all your support, it's people helping people, man. Hey, I'm no professional videographer by any stretch, but I like to mess around with it, and we both like the old footage, and many people do. So Oh yeah, all that before 1930. That's Pacific Northwest uncovered in the box. Yeah. Well, they grew so fast. Went from like 1,000 people to 500,000 in a few decades. Well, no, in about 100 years, but still. Thank you, Wiley. Appreciate that. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me here, everyone. Once again, thanks for winding down your weekend. Eddie O Nose is here. Good to see you. Howdy. Tidal is here. All right, so the link below for the McCord Stewart Museum and their online archives. I've bookmarked this collection. It's a lovely gelatin silver glass plate negative collection from Norman Macmillan Hinshelwood from around 1900-ish to 1903. So let me pull that up here for you. It's now some of the, because they're glass, they're photo negatives that have been developed on glass plates. Okay, so there is some chips and some cracks, maybe some smudges or a fingerprint here or there, but it's a wonderful collection of very good quality photographs. So you can see there's a lot of scenes, like rural country scenes. Oh, look, a canoe. It's probably a beaver somewhere in here too. You know what I'm saying? But it's this kind of thing here that I'm interested in sharing with all of you. It's got two shots here. So we'll have a look at the first one because it's got a little bit of this other building in it. The thing I like about this site is you can zoom in, get in there nice and deep like. What the heck's going on here? All this scroll work. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this thing with the pediments and the columns and pillars, of course. All this decorative detail. Little flower rosettes. Could be a lion's head here. This is as tight as I can get in. Of course, it just keeps going and going. And, you know, you got to have your Antiquitech. And then whatever's going on here. Can't quite read the year on that. No, I may have to download this so I can do a super zoom on it. See if we can see it on this other one. Let's see. So that's 1,000, 500, 600, 700, 800. So 1890, because that's 100. So 1890. Is that an X? 1899? Is that right? Is that what that says? Thinking that's 1899. Anyway, look at all of this. Gorgeous, man. It could very well have been built around 1899, and then he shows up in the, you know, after its grand unveiling in 1900 to take a photo of it, or at least what they're saying, it was built in 1899. It could be just when they fixed it up or gave it the Victorian tart up, as my friend Dave Ebony over in his channel likes to call it. This is the Molson's Bank. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Forgive me. That former building is the Merchants Bank building on St. James or St. Jacques Street. So again, that financial street that talked about in the encyclopedia article. Sorry about the siren. It is nice enough for me to have the window open a bit. Yeah, basically it could be. Could be. That's right. Claimed as their own. 1899. So this is the Molson's Bank. Molson was a famous brewer. He had a chain of breweries. He's like Canada's, I don't know, Busch, Anheuser, and Adolphus and Anheuser-Busch. You know, he had his own breweries, but then he also had his own banks. He had his own little railroad for a while. One of those guys that they attribute like 6 things to, right? Got to admit, he commandeered some nice buildings. What's going on up here with these things? See, this is the streetcar or trolley electric overhead lines here. Some interesting symbology here. Looks like that might be is that an anchor? Or is that a crescent moon? Or what is that? Right here. Don't know. Very embellished. Guess you wouldn't want to keep your money anywhere else. You know, it's got to be fancy. Otherwise, I ain't putting my hard-earned dollar in there. No siree. There's the Royal Insurance Building on Notre Dame Street. And it's not loading. Why are you not loading there, bub? There we go. Looks like an adjacent building, too. What's going on? They're doing some repair work here. Is that what's happening? Scaffolding teetering precariously on the edge of this 1.5 foot wide ledge. Great. Nice. The coining detail down the edge here on this circular entrance or rounded entrance. It's a mud flutter. Small windows here and big windows all the way down at this end of the building. Different pediments with all the windows too. It's nice. Well, what's up here? It's crest of some sort. There's some fleur-de-lis for you. It's only a matter of time, people, before we see the fleur-de-lis. That's the French way to say a lily. That's a lily. The fleur-de-lis is a lily. Look at this thing. Toronto Dominion Bank on St. James Street. Wow. Because you got to have a cupola with a dome And then because we're Canadian and we have an inferiority complex compared to our neighbors to the south, we got to have a smaller cupola on top of the bigger cupola with another little dome on it. These arches with all of these column details. Again, another curved entrance on the corner. I love the corner entrances. It's very efficient, I guess. You know, if you're coming from this way or coming from this way, you just go right in. That's why the old fire hall here in Calgary, built in, I don't know, 1911 or whatever they say it was built. It's built on an angle at an intersection. So no matter where the fire was, the trucks could come out and go any which way. Plus, you know, it's just so much easier to put your entrance on a corner and round that corner, wouldn't it be? Nope, not at all. Sarcasm level 1000. What's this behemoth? Bank of Commerce building. Look at the size of these arched windows. Holy moly. Looks like we might have some pavement lights here, people. Look at that. We've got some mud-flooded windows with some pavement lights here, potentially. And then you got to have a 15-foot doorway for some reason. You know, for these 5'10" guys. Look at all of this. It's beautiful. Of course, you can't have anything remaining here, any hints or clues for people to be able, for layman folks, normal people to be able to decipher. They got to scrub all those. And then if you're not educated or privy to the ancient mystery schools, you can barely cipher and only just begin to guess what some of the other symbology means. You know, the stuff that maybe isn't necessarily so obvious or has some kind of dual meaning. Yeah, I always get excited when I find weird stuff like pavement lights. There's nary a few places left in real life here in Calgary. I've only found 3. Cousin Vinny was with me on 2 of those 3 times. And we were flabbergasted. The New York Life Building, also on that same St. James Street. Again, the photos are around 1900. It's got a clock tower. Oh, geez. And then it's got, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it. I think most of us are thinking it. Some kind of airship or dirigible docking station. Basically the dirigible version of a train station. You know, it moors here. You might even have another one that's able to moor here, a smaller one. And people deplane or D-ship, whatever the term is, disembark. And they just come down. And then they could just catch the tram or the trolley or the taxi, which would be horse-drawn, kind of like the New York City hansom cab idea. You know, in Montreal, there's tons of those. See what the clock says. Can't tell if we have 4 eyes or an IV. But yeah, this could be an airship or dirigible mooring station, docking station. Just put it out there. I don't know for sure. First, I thought the streets were muddy, but then I'm realizing, no, it's snow. Snowy streets. Royal Insurance Building. Did we look at this one? Yeah, I think we did. No, we didn't. Okay, so this one looks like it may have at one time had a main entrance on this curved corner, like the other two that we looked at, but they've moved it over to here. Or at one time it could have had two or maybe even three entrances. This could have been an entranceway that just gets you directly to a stairwell, whereas this entranceway is only for the main floor, perhaps. And then they just deleted on this thing for whatever reason. Probably because they've been monkeying around with the building since they gave it the tart up. I think we did look at this because there's that tarp again. Getting all corn-fused. We didn't look at this one, though. The Alliance Fire Assurance Building, 1902-03, roughly. Look at this beaut with the mansard-style roof on it. Roof? Portals. Look at these curves on these gables, or these dormers, I mean. And then they did put in a sort of a pyramidal, a pyramid-like gable in there. That's unusual. Extra work. Look at all this. Look at these capitals, how fancy they are. And some kind of serpentine wreath with, or garland with wreaths, I should say, is what it looks like. And then look at how it just angles down the street. So you know there's multiple levels down there. Look at this building next to it. Sheesh. But Place d'Armes in, you know, basically it's a big sort of plaza in the old port, you know, old Montreal. And wow. I mean, it's just riddled with those beautiful buildings. They got silly with them down there. Here's the customs house. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an I and a V. Perfect. See, that's why your clock's keeping good time, because it's the right Roman numeral for the number 4. Again, you got to have dome. Another cupola with another dome. That's how we do it up here, bud. Nice and easy. Takes me and 8 hosers like, May long weekend. We'll get her done for you, bud. Look at all this wacky stuff up here. Urn-shaped ones, but then also these other ones that have like these bobules or like nodes coming out of them. Sometimes you see those on churches. What's it doing on a customs house? Well, here's that seminary that they were talking about. Kathy Broughton says, I want to teleport back to the 1800s and see what it would really look like. Yeah. Bring your camera with you. Bring your phone. Make sure it's fully charged first, though, eh? And bring one of those little power packs with you, too, maybe, because you ain't going to be able to charge her around there, bud. Pacific Northwest says beautiful streets, beautiful buildings, but shit streets. Yeah, well, in old Montreal, there are a lot of cobblestone streets or brick streets. So some of those do have muck, but I think that's snow, like slushy snow, and it mixes with, dirt and horse poop. Road apples, we call them out here. And, just makes a slushy mess. So it looks like mud. So we got a funny stone wall going on over here. It's like a couple of different potentially a couple of different stages of building here, maybe. And then for some reason, they poured the sidewalk too high, so then they had to angle the sidewalk so you could open and close these doors. Yeah, a lot of stone here. There's a lot of this in Montreal and Quebec City. Dwellings and, you know, public buildings, government buildings, churches, schools, you name it, built out of stone like this. And it's all just different sized stones. Not a lot of it is, you know, quarried and milled stones. It's pretty much just pretty rough hewn. Except for when they do a lot of the detail work, obviously. What's going on here? What's this thing? Monument in Youville? Youville Square. It's not there anymore. I don't remember ever seeing that when I was a kid. KJ, do you ever remember seeing this? Kinley Jackson? Monument at Youville in Montreal? Youville Square? Monument to what? Can't read that. There's a lot of names on there. No idea. No idea. Some tech back here. A bit of damage here on the negative. Nice dome back here. A little bit of damage here as well. She says, no, never, Frankie. Yeah, me neither. I bet. Well, I don't know for sure, but bet it's gone. Or it's been moved or something, right? So obviously an obelisk. Henry Morgan Building. Photo 1901. It's being prepared for a postcard or something. You can see where they're starting to take out the wooden poles that have the electric for the power and also for the trolleys or the trams here. So they've started whiting out these poles. I don't know how they're going to do that. Maybe paint a tree here or something. I don't know. Like this is damage here. And these little imperfections at the top, that's damage too. It could be anything. It could be just chips in the glass. It could be some kind of smudge. It could be mold even. Now there is snow on the ground, but this is not snow on these poles. This is, they've prepped this thing. And again, my guess is it's being prepped for a postcard. I've seen it before where it's basically the exact, well, not basically, it is the exact photo, but before and after. I've seen the raw photo, and then I've seen the midpoint where they're altering it, and then I've seen the after where it's on a postcard, and they've taken out stuff, and they've colorized it maybe. They paint in some clouds to make it look like it's a beautiful blue sky with some big fluffy white clouds, you know. You know, their usual MO, right? Where they mix in half-truths with truths and they pepper the truth with lies and manipulate things. And so you can't make hide nor hair of what's up and what's down. Look at the size of this doorway. Are you pulling my leg? Come on, man. There's a guy. There you can see his hat. There's a guy standing in this doorway. Here's to give you another perspective. Here's another guy. Look at this doorway, bub. Quit playing. The door handle would have to be right here, approximately. Twice as tall as this guy. A 12-foot tall door handle. Come on, man. Dragon's making jokes. It's good. I like it. I like jokes. Well, don't take things too seriously around here. It's a serious subject. But if you take it too seriously, you can drive yourself around the bend or drive yourself to the bottle or something. You gotta take these huge, daunting subject matters and chop them down at the knees, like David did with Goliath with his sling and his rock. Which, if you do it right, goes as fast as a bullet anyway. But it takes down a few pegs so you can look the subject matter in the eye and not get too frustrated and wound up and, have a little fun with it once in a while. Nothing wrong with that. I don't even know what's going on here in this picture. Fête Dieu. Fête is party. Dieu is God. No idea. It's not Christmas. That's Noel. It's not Easter. That's Pâques. So I have no idea what Fête Dieu. God day? God party? I don't know. It's losing something in the translation, I'm sure. What do we got here? Oh, it's the Henry Morgan building again. Whatever. Morgan's store on St. Catherine Street. They love their massive arches in Montreal, buddy. Holy lack. Look at that. Gotta have the tiniest of tiny windows for your mudflood windows, of course. You know, at one time that was just one window, the same width as this one window. Same here. This used to be just one big opening. Monked around with it. That's what I'm proposing, anyways. I don't know. I wasn't there. I have to build a little shack here off to the side. Why? Probably so they can go down into that lower level. What's going on here? It's the year 1900. What's this thing? Some kind of snowmobile? Or is it just a pram on skis, like a baby carriage on skis? Or a cart, a delivery cart on skis? I mean, it's, again, obviously winter. A little bit of damage here. But in Eastern Canada, especially, old pictures like this, you see a lot of, instead of the horse and carriage, you see the horse and sleigh, basically. The carriage is on skis. Howdy, Ryan. Ryan says these were the fee-fi-fo from Giant, basically. And then we come along and we're like, we don't need doors that big, bud. So we just cut them in half or even in thirds. Just make it into a window and a big doorway that's still way too tall. And you still got to go up, 6 or 8 stairs to get into the place. What a beauty. Wow, I've only done 2 pages here. What's this place? The Arts Building at McGill University. Oh, yeah. Universities, man. Entire clusters or compounds of old world structures. I definitely subscribe to the idea or the proposal or the theory that, because a lot of old universities and college campuses, they're basically self-sustaining. They have their own boiler systems, water systems, again, dynamos and stuff for electricity production. And they're self-sufficient and completely independent. Of course, modern times, they've been forced to tie into the main, city or county systems or whatever the case may be. But you have all these different buildings. Some are joined, some are different wings attached to other buildings. You have a lot of times big sort of promenades or walkways, almost like a center avenue with all these buildings lining either side, and then a big fancy building at one end. It's like they were, towns or centers of something other than necessarily centers of learning. You know what I mean? Been here a while. Got a lot of vinage growing. This window, nice. So everything had to have a freaking cupola and a dome on it. Even where you just, technically you're just going to school. Nope, it's got to have a dome either way. Oh, here's the Grand Trunk Railroad General Office Building. A couple of towers on here. What's the clock have? Looks like it's another IV. It looks like they're doing it upright in Montreal. A little water damage on this thing. Look at these. Again, it's just coincidence that two windows are the exact same width as these two windows. They're all spaced exactly, all aligned with one another. But these are just tiny, little guys, way down there, like, a third of the size. It makes it look so top-heavy. I mean, it looks like it sank. I'm not saying it did sink. Chances are a building like this for a quote-unquote liquefaction wouldn't sink evenly. The weight would have to be distributed perfectly within the entire building, and even then, there's no guarantee that it would sink completely level and even. Whereas this is obviously level. It's the street that's not perfectly level with the level of the building. So it's not that it sank into the earth. It's that the earth swept over slowly oozed, I should say. It didn't come crashing like a wave. That would damage and lopside the building and create havoc with structure. I mean, I'm not a construction expert, but I have worked in construction in my past. Not commercial construction like this, but it's basically the same concept applied on a larger scale. So yeah, it oozed in and buried what I think would have been, this is the top of another set of double above and below windows. So at least another whole, almost a whole section between these two dividing lines along the building here. I do think that if the terra firma underneath these buildings liquefied, underneath their support systems and their foundations, because a building this big does have to have some kind of below ground foundation, let's face it. You can't just pile a bunch of stones and build a 4 or 5 story building on top of it. So if the ground underneath it liquefied, it wouldn't have sunk level, whereas the building is level. So I think the terra firma did liquefy, or whatever you want to call it, and it oozed in from higher ground. And some parts of the realm got it worse than others. And I think there was more than one mud flood. I think mud floods are a result of some earlier worse catastrophe. It could be, like a couple of 100 years after some major cataclysm. What are you doing to me here? Come on, man, quit playing. I want to have a look at this Aberdeen school. There we go. It's giving us the super zoom for some reason. I want to see these. There we go. So you mean to tell me that they went through all the trouble of making this an arched window for, a foot to a foot and a half space, but meanwhile all the other windows are, well, I know I'm preaching to the choir on this one. All the other windows are full-size windows with pediments above them. And then you got to build a bridge of stairs to get up to the main floor, because the main floor is 4 feet above the ground level. It's just silly. Nice little bijou balcony up here, though. Even the side door. Not the same level as this door. You see, this is at the top of this row of what I'm just going to call stone or masonry. And this one is way down here at this level. It's like 2 feet lower. So again, this might just take you into this main area. This takes you into a staircase. And then you gotta, put some castle turrets on it and all kinds of weirdo tech. Even on this dormer, look, it's another little one here. What purpose did these things serve that you have to have them all over the building? Just decoration? Really? Just time and money to throw around like a bunch of drunken idiots in Vegas, just wasting money on frivolous decoration? Or is it form and function? This is the nunnery. It's St. Alexander Street. Oh, man. We just saw recently here in Calgary, the old Mission District, when I had our meetup and mudflood tour, those nuns could really build them. Ain't that right, Russ and KJ in the chat? And Cousin Vinny. All three of them were kind enough to meet up for the subscriber meetup and mudflood tour of Rouleauville in the Mission District. The nuns built their convent, and then they built a hospital. Bless them. I don't know what the date says on that. Oh, no, it's not a date. It's just like coiled, again, symbology. And then same with that little conical dome with the little ball on it, like miniature versions of, the bigger ones. This is the kind of crap that we do here. This is what we do. I'm just going to put a wooden veranda or porch to copy the stone pillared colonnades and, promenades in the old world buildings. We've obviously done some monkeying around here. What a huge building for nuns. Like it's a convent, a nunnery, a convent. The size. It's ridiculous, man. I shared this one in a community post. It's a crucifix at the Franciscan Chapel on Dorchester Street. I'm familiar with this street, actually. I'm familiar with Dorchester Street. My mother's grandparents, so my maternal great-grandparents, my Nana's mother, my mom's Nana, lived in Dorchester. Weird. I have steps just going up to this, but then it's in front of looks like a mud flooded window or a half window there. It's weird looking. And we've got the old mill. Doesn't have the blade on it anymore, though. I guess it came out of here. You gonna tell us? Some damage here or something. Is that a repair job or some kind of damage? Different stonework here. Here you just have like field stones, for lack of a better term, more rounded, oddly shaped, oblong, like river stones or field stones. But then here you have, cut stone. It probably was not a windmill. It was probably a tower for some old castle or some siege. They like to tell us that, there weren't castles in the New World, in North America, only in Europe and in the UK. Canada and the States didn't have castles. Right. Here's the New York Life building. Oh, we looked at that one too. Sorry, these are in all kinds of crazy order here. Anglican Church, Galt Street in Valleyfield, Quebec. I don't even know where Valleyfield is. Howdy, Sig. Told you to do some Hail Marys and you ran away. Yeah, this looks like it's been lopped off and then they built it back up again, but they didn't bother with the spire. These always look like they're missing a really tall spire, to me anyway. I mean, they do the bother of having the somatic window and the stained glass, and all the other various accoutrements, the flying buttresses and whatnot for churches, but it doesn't have the spire or the steeple. Why not? They try to tell us, oh, Methodists and Lutherans, they didn't really rock the spires. That's like the Catholics and, the Baptists or whatever. They just look like they've been decapitated or they've been circumcised. Did we look at this one, the Merchants Bank building? I don't think we did. Doesn't matter. It's worth looking at it again if we did. I think we did. Yeah, this was one of the first ones we looked at. It's crazy. I think this was one big entrance at one point, and it came along and cut it in half maybe or something. I don't know. Some of those other buildings we're seeing like 20, 25-foot entranceways. Oh, I know what happened. There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, eh? Central Hotel. This looks like it actually could be a wood frame structure, maybe. Either that or it's brick and it's been clad in this wooden siding. A bit of damage here. Look at this crappy sign. Come on, man. Well, it's probably not the best hotel because there's a train tracks right there. So, a little bit on the loud side. Even still, you got to have some kind of weirdo tech or embellishments. Not sure what these are. Could be just big 4x6s or something. Interesting nonetheless. Very interesting. Peliquin Hotel. Not Pelican, Peliquin. 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 I have no idea what that is. Not in the slightest. All I know is it's a beauty. Just going to hang out here by this here hitching post. What's this guy doing? He might have his watch in his hand, actually. This looks like a straight razor. Is he fixing to jump these two people? You stay away from those people now, you hooligan. Look at this fancy stuff. My goodness. Not to mention all this in the back. Come on, man. Come on, man. And then so put our crappy sign on it. Nice work. It's so nice we'll put it twice. Idiots. Meanwhile, got all of this beautiful scroll work and this millwork on these dormers. Look at all the special attention to detail they did with these scalloped tiles and then this sort of harlequin print. Not to mention, again, you got to have a mansard-style roof with all the tech. Arched windows in these dormers because, again, that's just super easy to do. It's like they just had all the time and money in the world. How are we doing on time here? Still got a little bit of time here. Let's get into maybe skip to the next page or two here. I've got some wacky construction photos. Trestle and abutments. Boudil, butt of the island. I'm just seeing a bunch of wood and some already completed supports here. I don't know. And also there's just nobody around. Where's all the workers? Usually it's everybody get in the shot, but here it's like everybody got camera shy. Nobody wanted to get their photo taken that day. or the cameraman just happened to show up on a day where it was a Sunday. They weren't working. Something going on because this hoist is blurry. So somebody's moving this hoist around. It's not a crane. They only had steam cranes at this point. Although they do have a rail going out here. That's how they would have delivered stuff onto site, was by rail. And they could have, in theory, had a steam crane on a flat rail car. And then that steam crane lifts the heavy stuff like the iron beams or some of the big stones or whatever. But I don't see a crane. This is just a hoist. It's just pulleys and wood. Block and tackle, basically, right? Oh, there is a couple of dudes. There we are. Guy and a horse. Well, two guys and a horse. So I guess they're trying to show two horses. So is this horse driving this around and around, which powers this thing? I don't know what's going on, but it is a hoist. It's like kind of a primitive crane. It is blurry, so it is moving. You can see this one in the background, right? It's a beam with a pulley, another pulley, and then you got more pulleys with hooks here. And these guys are messing around with this one back here. And then this supports the thing. These are just logs with, you know, rungs like a ladder nailed into it. Real safe. Look at this thing. It's rickety ass thing. Come on, man. I'm not sure what this horse is doing. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with these horses. But this guy is, you know, operating one cable. And this guy might be, this might rotate. This might be on a turntable. I have no idea what's going on with this photo. It's crazy. You tell me and we'll both know. Steam and hydraulics. Yeah, that's what it would be. The old steam cranes were powered by steam. But this is just block and tackle. This is just pulleys. So this is like if you get your 4x4 stuck. If you're off-roading, four-wheel drive, doing some four-wheeling, and you got to winch it up against a tree to get it out or whatever, that's basically what this is. I mean, this is ancient technology. This isn't crane level yet. It's sort of like a crane where they can pull it up and then move this pivot around. But they can't raise and lower this arm, I don't think. I think they can just swing it around. But I don't know. I wasn't there. This is 1900. My great-granddaddy would have known, but he passed in 1977. It's definitely interesting to look at and try and figure out what the Sam Steel is going on here. You got Canadian Pacific. Okay, so this is a rail car. This is a flatbed. So they're bringing in these huge blocks on here, and they're using this hoist to unload it off of the rail car and drop it down here on site. Now, in 1900, CP Rail did have steam cranes mounted on the backs of or on top of these flatbed rail cars. So why they're using that, I don't know. Maybe the construction company said, nah, we got our own equipment. It's fine. We don't want to pay extra for the crane service. Or I don't know. But they had them in the, the 1890s. I think they had them earlier than that in the UK and in the States. But CP Rail didn't really totally get going here until, around 1870s, 1880s. Mind you, we had railroads older than that, prior to that, like the Grand Trunk. Not to be confused with Grand Funk Railroad. You know what I'm saying? Just a wooden shack with a bunch of pulleys attached to some lumber. That's what they're building bridges with in 1900, people. That's what's going on with their bridge building in Montreal. Got some barges here. What's this? Cofferdam and derrick on a barge. Sam Steele's happening here. These crappy, rickety wooden barges carrying stones and gravel and pipe, barrels of something. And again, see, they just have this hoist. I guess for concrete or for the mortar maybe or something. And then you got your stones. It could be. That could be. Phil Henry in the box saying deconstruction of a bridge. Yeah, there you go. There could be. Howdy, Morgan. Good to see you. He says, I'm so late. No worries, bud. Come on. It's just good to see you, bud. It's just good to see you. What do you mean you weren't there, bud? And Sig says he was the photographer. No, if I was the photographer, they wouldn't be, the horizon and the photograph wouldn't be level. For some reason, even though I have the settings on my camera and my gimbal to perfectly level everything that I video or take a photo of, sometimes they end up being wonky and, you know, just slightly catawampus one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? First pier, bridge at Boudil. Let's zoom in and see what kind of shenanigans they have going on here. So you mean to tell me there's water around here and they've sectioned it off with wood in a couple of layers. They've backfilled this to absorb water so it doesn't get in there too badly while they're quickly assembling this. Just assembling that. Okay. Just laying the stone and smearing it in the mortar, you know, the schmutz. Boop, putting another stone on top. Right there in the water. Here's the third pier. These, again, obviously, these photos are not in order. There's some damage along the bottom here, you can see. So they're just starting the third pier, I guess. It's crazy, man. Oh, see, now we're going to have the finished product here. Ironwork. So it's the same bridge now. They've put the iron. Now they're doing the ironwork. Putting big, go F yourself iron beams onto this thing. And they're still just using hoists. They're still not using any kind of steam power. You'd know if they're using steam power because there would be a boiler and they would have to have some kind of chimney or stack coming out of the top of the boiler for the smoke for whatever is heating up the water in the boiler in order for it to boil to produce steam so they can build the pressure to drive their little motors on these things, right? And that there's none of that going on here. These are wacky photos, man. I don't know what's going on. Here we might actually have a steam crane. Let's see. Dominion Bridge Company. Yeah, here we've got a steam crane. So this is modern equipment. Steel. This thing pivots and can be raised or lowered. And then these can be raised or lowered independently or together. And then this thing turns on a pivot as well, as opposed to this thing. There's only so much you can do with these hoists. You can see the mechanism in here. I can't zoom in any closer, unfortunately, but you could see like the flywheels, and this is the pipe So they build up steam. There's a machine in here, and they're able to operate this thing as a crane. But that belongs to the bridge building company. So why they weren't using it earlier, I don't know, because we saw rail down along the bottom when they were hoisting up these steel beams and all the big boulders, all the stones. I don't know. It's all very fishy to me. Let's look at some weird machines. What do you say? First of all, I remember this photo. I wanted to make a point to show you this. Tell me what you think of this. This pretty much says it all, doesn't it? I have no idea what that is at all. But you've got a stone. Obviously, this was the remains of an older building made out of stone, or it looks like it was made out of stone. And you get these mooks coming along, and they've reclaimed this thing, or somebody's reclaimed it and hired these guys, and now they're building new brick walls on top of here, here, here. But look at this freaking entryway and how it's got an arch on the top, and look how high it is. Ryan says it looks like Fallout 4 or something. Yeah. Look at this. Look how far down this goes. And these goofs just come along. Oh, for sure, bud. Or oui, monsieur, I build it for you very fast. No, pas de problème. I build it for you super quick. So quick at the blink of the eye that you don't see how quick we renovate this fine property that you own, monsieur.
I can't understand a word you said the whole time.
Do you eat some peanut butter or something?
Yeah, you sound like a dog with peanut butter on the roof of your mouth.
I think what you are hearing is my accent. I am French.
Yeah, well said, KJ. Well said. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Don't ask questions. Or if I was walking along here and I said, hey, what's going on here? It would be like, oh, you want to know what's going on? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you. It's all about shut up. That's what it would be. You know what I mean?
No more questions. Don't ask any more questions.
Is that a panel door to the right? Ubucon asking. Yeah, there's a door there. Leaning up against what looks like arched window frames or something. Probably meant to go in here, perhaps. I want to know what Sam Steele is this thing. It looks like a water slide. Whee! I don't know what it is. I mean, even this is obviously stone or brick covered in schmutz. And then they bricked a wall in here, and then either they framed it in. It looks like it's wood frame because these windows don't go that deep. So they didn't even bother doing 4 brick walls around this place. Maybe they can do the same with this. Brick wall here, and the rest is wood frame. Just reclaiming stuff that's been destroyed in some kind of cataclysm. What the heck is this thing? Powerhouse Machinery in Shawinigan, Quebec. What is this contraption? You're off. It was upside down. Where's the thing upside down? Doesn't look like it. What is this? These relays? These look like relays. I'm no electrician, but this is it's got 2 pivot points, so it's and a piston. So this is pumping something. Oh, come on. It's pumping something which might be, yeah, I don't know what it's doing, but this is pumping something. It's got a piston. Powerhouse machinery. So vague. What kind of machinery, bub? Westinghouse. Of course it is. Of course it's Westinghouse. Even up here in Canada land, we are not immune to the robber baron corporations. Why do you have to have fancy stacked brick inside some machine house, powerhouse, electric power generating station or whatever? Look at this. We got some dynamos, generators. Now we're talking. Look at the size of these things, son. Oh, ye olde ladder lean. Nice. Some cool gauges. Not sure. I have no idea. I'm not a machinist. Obviously, this belt drives something. I mean, this could be something as simple as you put your lubricant in here so these things don't seize up. I don't know, but I'm not sure. But these things are generating some power. Old school dynamos. Nice brickwork there. Dragon Sage says we had a huge Westinghouse factory in Hamilton. My buddy used to work there with his dad, radio engineers. They worked with Tesla. My pappy, my mom's dad, my granddad, my maternal granddad, yeah, he worked for Northern Telecom, and they used to do some contract work with Westinghouse back in Montreal. See what else we got here for these crazy looking machines. Here's another one. Shots. Same machines, different angle? No, different looking machines. Okay, here's what I was talking about. The axle with these big wheels on them that would have a huge belt. And these belts drive to other axles and rotate those axles that have multiple wheels in them. And each one of those wheels has a belt on it hooked up to a machine, and you can engage or disengage that belt to start or stop your machine. Look at this thing. This has got like magnets and stuff around it. Look at this. Very cool. With all the old gauges and stuff. I have no idea what these things are. No idea. Look at it in the background here, man. Looks like Victor von Frankenstein's laboratory. What else you got? What's this thing? Generator. Shawinigan. Shawinigan question mark? They don't even know. Some of this dirt and crap piled up all over this thing for you. Don't you want to keep this thing clean and maintained and well lubed for its optimal efficiency? Guess not. Too bad I can't read that. Yeah, I don't know what this thing is doing. Something to do with power. Some kind of turbine or dynamo. It kind of does, doesn't it? Pacific Northwest thing, it looks dug out. Sort of. You can see there's actually a cavity or a space underneath here. Appears to be anyway, so who knows what's going on with this thing. It's a really cool looking machine, though. Look at this. Powerhouse interior switchboard. Look, they just bashed the floor open for this dynamo or generator. Like, this was not originally built as a power station. they had to F it up and monkey around with it to fit these big go F yourself machines into this thing. Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
Shenanigans.
I mean, they very clearly came in with a jackhammer. Oh, no, what I'm saying, 1900, they didn't have jackhammers. A couple of corn-fed mule-sized farm boys from like Delson had to come over onto the island with their daddy's sledgehammers and smash these things up. Oh, come on. This is ridiculous, dude. I mean...
Show me all the blueprints.
Anyway, machine's cool looking. These giant. Back in the day, where you just pull that giant lever. Which giant lever? The only giant lever on the entire, on the entire component. It's got like 3 giant dials on it. These things are great. Yeah, but this is some monkey business for sure. It's definitely. I mean, they just bashed it to pieces. See if we can find another shot. See if we can get another angle. Whoops. Doesn't look like it. Did they bash in anything in this one? Doesn't look like it. These ones they were able to fit, I guess. That's so stupid, man. Oh, it is. It's pipes. They're bringing water down. So it is a water slide. It's pipes for water. That's what I was seeing in the background of that other photo. Look at the size of this nonsense. Oh, yieldy ladder lean again. Look at these openings. So what was it? Water turbines? Or is this powerhouse pumping the water up? I don't even know. It says that it's the power station, like the electrical power station. Looks like they're hydroelectric turbines. I don't know. What's going on up here, by the way? I can't even begin to guess what's going on in this photo. But all I can say is they really had to mess up this beautiful building and smash through it just to put in these big goofy pipes and stuff. I mean, that's ridiculous, bud. That's a crazy looking contraption they got there in Shawinigan. Yeah, it's of course it's a whole complex of buildings. Ross overwatered the trees just in the last few videos has looked at. I think it's in Kansas City, but it might not be in the Missouri side. It might be on the Kansas side. I don't remember. You'll have to check out this channel, Water the Tree. He's checking out what was a powerhouse, but it's actually a series of buildings all within, a city block or two. But again, look, you got like a 4-story building here, a 2-story here, some kind of big tower here, another big behemoth building here. You got some kind of, who knows what this is, a funicular maybe? Some other crazy tower with some weird doodad tech on top. And then, of course, your obligatory water tower, but that looks like a railroad water tower. Yeah, this is, and it's right. Okay, so this is hydroelectric power production. It's got to be. Shenanigans in Shawinigan. That's nice. I like that. You're quick there, bud. Nice. Oh, here's another switchboard. Or is it that same switchboard? No, one's a different switchboard. Let's see what they did down here. There's some damage to the photo negative here, to the glass. But this looks like they didn't bash in the floor. They did a normal job on it. Let's see what this is all about. I have no idea, man. No clue. Like what happens if this starts going, you come over and you just twist this, or give this a yank. You push that and watch for those levels to go up or down. I don't know. Maybe you press this. Boop. I don't know. It's like whack-a-mole. All right. Last page here. Gonna wind down the show. Just gotta some more. What's this? Either there's some damage here, but they've also altered it. But it could be that something got wet and got stuck to the glass, and when they took it off, it peeled like paper, got stuck to it. Because sometimes if you have these old glass negatives, because again, the film is developed on a piece of glass, right? So if you've got these glasses in a little wooden, these glass slides or glass photo negatives in a little wooden box, it might have slots to separate each one, but it might not. You might just put a sheet of paper in between each one so that they don't, clank against each other and chip. So that could be what this is. I don't know. But this machine is really cool. It looks all beat up, though, doesn't it? It's kind of beat up and damaged here and scraped. Like, why is this thing scraped? Do you guys scrape it? Are you hauling it in here? Or what? Is that the story? I don't know. Anyway, let's look at a couple more here and then we'll wind it down. Yeah, this is another factory floor or powerhouse floor. MSR rear switchboard, 1901. It's the rear of the switchboard. So you have all these big wires, insulated wires and cables, all kinds of relays and servos and freaking light bulbs back here to tell you, yeah, this is working fine, bud. All systems are nominal. There's your emergency kill switch box. Shut it down. Shut it down. This is a crazy looking contraption, man. Of course, you got to have wood around electricity. That's always a capital idea. Not going to have any problems there with fires. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. We got some ladies here working. Women ironing a starched petticoat. Let's have one look at these ladies. Women starching collars and cuffs. Okay, so there's the machine. And there's your belt, and up along the ceiling here would be that axle with a wheel on it that these belts can attach to engage and disengage your machine. See? They're all wearing different colored blouses. Some have stripes. Some are solid colors. Some have like a woven, sort of a raised or three-dimensional, what's called a doby, D-O-B-Y, a doby stripe, which is not a printed stripe. It's a textured stripe, like it's stitched in, whereas this might be woven in or it might be dyed. You can see here all these collars and cuffs, different stripes. Oh, everybody just wore black and white uniforms. Shut up. They did not. I have shown hundreds of photos on my channel over these 4 years of doing live shows that the old world was filled with color. But when you see a picture of a guy that's this big in a photograph of a city, a street scene, you can't tell if he's wearing brown, dark green, black, charcoal gray. You can't tell if his shirt is white, baby blue, pink, light gray, yellow. No, everybody's just wearing black. You know that black is the most expensive fabric dye, right? Black is more expensive than any other fabric dye. So even the hobo on the streets could afford black fabric, I guess, is what you're telling me. Some of the narratives in our community that people come up with make me scratch my head. And I can say with a great deal of confidence from years ago in a previous career that I had when I was in the high-end, high-scale menswear clothing business, where we did tailored suits and tailored shirts and stuff, as well as off the rack designer stuff and, you know, like bespoke, tailor-made, hand tailor-made suits, sport coats, blazers, waistcoats, trousers, shirts. We even had a company that we used to use that still made your men's dress shirt where the collar and the cuffs were separate components. So your shirt collar actually had what's kind of known as like a Mandarin collar. It was just the band of your collar. And then the part that folds over your tie or whatever was a separate piece that you'd put your shirt on, button it up, then put that collar piece on, button it to the top button of your shirt, put your tie on, and your cuffs worked that way too. Your cuffs would go on separately from your shirt sleeves. Your shirt sleeves generally were just, a single button with a sort of a loop tie, or sometimes it was an elasticized sort of they didn't have elastic in the olden days, but the way they weave it, it would have a stretch to it to hold it, and your cuff you would button over, and it was a fancy cuff. Yeah, your cravat, your kerchief, your necktie, your ascot, whatever was in vogue. But anyways, yeah, you could still walk in and order, a shirt that was a 3-piece shirt, the shirt body, and then the cuffs and the collar separate. I thought that was pretty damn cool. But anyways, a couple of other companies that we used to use, you could order fabric from these European mill houses that had been around since the 1700s, 1800s. And a lot of the weaves and the patterns of the fabric that they were still weaving today were of old patterns on old looms that they'd been using for over 100 years, 150 years, 200 years. Nothing's changed. If it's a popular enough style, let's say, for example, a houndstooth check for men's fabric. You could make sport coats, trousers, suits, all kinds of stuff out of houndstooth. That's been in style for like almost 200 years. Gingham checks, Prince of Wales checks, Tattersall checks. These things have been around for a long time. So you go into an upscale store or a tailor somewhere, a tailor shop that's upscale, where they have samples of or bolts of fabric that they order from Europe, from these old mill houses. And you can look at them. You can actually touch them and feel them. And a lot of them are beautiful colors, very intricate patterns and weaves and designs. So, yeah, some of the stuff that some of the people propose, and again, I get it. Like, I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. But, when you look at these weaves and this fabric that you can order a suit, and, it was the same thing that was available back in the 1850s, then I challenge the argument that not everybody was wearing just all black and all white, and that everything looked the same. Anyway, I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here very shortly. Before I do, I like to leave these things on a high note, getting back to what I was mentioning earlier. Kind of lighthearted approach to some of this subject matter, so it doesn't get us all riled up and ticked off necessarily all the time, that we've been bamboozled and lied to for basically what's our entire history, or what we're told is our entire history. I like to leave things with a few chuckles, a few yucks before I go. Actually, I have, I'm going to share a couple of photos real quick here before I show some videos, some little video clips. First of all, this is the third week in a row I've dropped the ball on sharing this. This was sent to me from subscriber Sandra. Thank you very much. She sent it as a gift. It's a beautiful royal blue hoodie, pullover style hoodie. She designed the design on the front with the crown with the hearts, King of Hearts team, King of Love team, King of Hearts team. Fits like a glove, and blue is my favorite color. She didn't even know that. She just said, "Oh, I've got some of these things that I've had made that I've designed. I want to send you one. What size do you take?" So I told her, and she sent it to me, and it's beautiful. And lo and behold, my favorite color. So on a chilly day, I'm definitely rocking this thing. I've got a couple of ball hats, baseball hats, trucker hats. The colors coordinate very nicely. So thank you very much, Sandra. I appreciate you for sending that gift. I'm sorry. I promised like 3 weeks ago that I would show that on the live show. It's a lovely design, and it's comfortable, and it fits perfectly. And I've got another photo to share. I almost said out and about. I was out and about. I was out doing some, exploring here, and I just caught this out of the corner of my eye on a street lamp or a street light post. Just a few blocks from me, and I'm like, oh, I got to share this. It's just some long-haired dude with a handlebar mustache and sunglasses with his Chevy van, and it just says, "Oh, for sure." Underneath. It was just stuck to a lamppost. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I gotta take a picture of that thing. What is that all about? Oh, for sure. For sure there, Bod. I know, right? It's so random. Just some dude with his 1982 Chevy van. It's a conversion van, too. It's been converted. It's like a custom. It's got the camper. It's got the camper conversion, right? It's got the sink and the oven and stove and the table that you can fold down into a bed, right? All right. Let me quickly share a couple of quick little memes, and then we'll get out of here, because I know Beeks got his show rolling here, and a lot of you are chomping at the bit. I may have even shared this before, but I love it so much that, you're going to get it the second time. I don't know.
That's good. Hey, I don't know. What's that? That Dr. Pepper? That's that Dr. Pepper.
That's that Dr. Pepper. This one's been making me laugh my ass off on Instagram. I did find the YouTube shorts of it, though. It's a guy in China who sings to monkeys, but he jump scares them as he's doing it. Watch. Let me start it over here. Hang on.
太阳出来我爬山坡，太阳出来我爬山坡，太阳出来我爬山坡，太阳出来我爬山坡，太阳出来我爬山。
Those monkeys are not enjoying that. I mean, it's kind of mean. I guess you could say it's a little mean, but I'm sorry. It's kind of funny, too. Besides, those monkeys, they're a-holes. So, a little jump scare once in a while. Really, he's helping them. He's getting their heart rate up. He's getting them moving because they're just sitting there on a log. He's getting them moving, getting them, they're getting their steps in. Anyway, with that, there you go. That is going to do it. Thank you very much for joining me here. That is going to seal the deal for Frankie, New West Reset, and New West Reset Live, episode 177. We looked at the Norman Macmillan Hinshelwood's glass plate photo negative collection of Montreal from the year 1900 to 1903 from the McCord Stewart Museum online collection. So thank you once again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the show. Appreciate all of you being here. If you're watching this after the live, let me know what you think down below. While you're there, do all the other stuff. So that's going to seal the deal here. Take care out there. And until the next one, have yourselves a good one. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.